Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
Now we'll go around the room and introduce ourselves by however you'd like to.
I'm Arinna.
Patrick.
I'm Shantanu.
My name's Carl.
I'm Leonard.
I'm Ismail.
I'm Peter.
I'm Peter.
Yeah, I'm Peter.
I'm Mark. Rick.
I'm Jack.
I'm Glenn. My name's Richie.
I'm David.
I'm David Axel.
I'm George.
Jim.
Peter number 4.
I'm Richard Azzolini, and I'm lovingly also called this name.
I'm Flint.
I'm Jerry Mark.
I'm Bill.
I'm Mark.
I'm Roy. My name's Ray Dyer.
I'm Reggie.
Rich.
My name's Scott.
My name's Harley.
I'm Alex.
My name's Les.
My name's David.
William.
My name is Gary.
My name is Michael.
I'm Philip.
I'm Eric.
Well, welcome. We have a speaker this morning, and then at 12 we'll have socializing until 12:30. For the newcomer, people will come by and introduce themselves to you to make you feel welcome, hopefully. And then there's a group that will go to lunch after 12:30. So Arinna Weisman is our speaker today, and she has studied Vipassana meditation since 1979, has been teaching since 1988. Her root teacher, Ruth Denison, was empowered by the Great Burmese master, U Bha Khin. She is the founding teacher of Insight Meditation Center of the Pioneer Valley and is the co-author of A Beginner's Guide to Insight Meditation. Her teaching is infused with her political activism, and along with Eric Kolvig, she has been leading retreats for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered community since 1991.
Thank you. Well, it's lovely to be in a room of so many cute guys. I hardly ever have the occasion to be the only femme. Right, the only femme in a woman's body. I'm sure I have many cohorts here with me in that expression. So anyway, so it's really a delight to be here, and always a delight to come together in an environment of practice. So I think I'll start by talking about why I'm in the reclining position. And a couple of months ago, my back started to hurt, and I went to a chiropractor, and she cracked me, and it was worse. And I thought, oh, maybe that was the wrong chiropractor. I went to another one who cracked me, and it was even worse. And I was just about to teach the Queer by Trans retreat at Spirit Rock with Larry and Anushka. And so taught mostly lying down, and the pain just got worse. And so that I was vomiting in the mornings, just very, very excruciating pain. So because I don't have health insurance, I flew back to Massachusetts, where I do have health insurance, and had x-rays and MRIs, and they found, they don't know what it is yet, some soft tissue lodged against the nerve bulb of L3. So I have 2 herniated discs in the soft tissue lodged against the nerve bulb, which means that it's very painful all the time. And the general recommendation was bed rest, lie in bed. So I've been in bed for the last 2 weeks, and this is the second time I've been outside, which is delightful. And it just hasn't gotten better. The pain has actually gotten worse. So you can imagine lying in bed with that kind of pain, the invitation that is being given to me and being given to my mind of how to hold what's happening. And I have to say how profoundly grateful I am for the practice, because all those years, since 1979, when I went on my first retreat, all those years of practice have given me the foundation to negotiate what's going on. And I see the difference between the times when my mind is surrendered and I'm just receiving what's being given to me. And it reminds me of, some of you might remember, do you remember was it the 60s or 70s, those plastic things that people wove, like 4 or 5 colors wove, and they made keychains out of it and stuff like that. And what are they called? Lanyards. So it reminds me of our lives and how you never know which color and strand is going to be woven into your life and to make up the pattern of your life. And it's like, oh, what's happening with my back is this color that has been woven in. And I find sometimes that there is just this incredible grace of openness of receiving, well, this is how it is. And that grace understands that in our surrender, we are able to touch a stream of being that is an expression of peace that the Buddha talks about as the highest peace. A peace that is also an expression of love, a peace that is also an expression of clarity. And that it is our capacity to open to those places that actually is the expression of our dignity as a human being. And that the events in our lives over and over are invitations for us to come back to that root of dignity or peace or well-being. And it is also clear that the very opposite happens. And that the very opposite is, I have a number of different examples. So one of them is that I had polio when I was young. And so I wake up sometimes with this crunching fear of, this is polio, and this is the beginning of the end. I am going to lose mobility. That, I don't know if you know, with polio, that those of us who recover are not able to use all our nerves because the polio has killed part of our nervous system. So the ones that we have are overworking. And at my age, they just begin to give up. And so you lose the use of your muscles. So, and I had polio that affected the nerves that actually started here. I stopped being able to swallow and go down my spine. So, oh my God, this is polio and I'm losing mobility. And in those moments, it feels incredibly true, and it feels as though my whole life actually depends on mobility, and that the loss of it is excruciating and grounds for suicide. Like, there's no way I want to live in a wheelchair. And so then another example is just because I'm in intense pain. It's like, I can't do this. I am on a cocktail of Vicodin, Advil, and Ativan, and I'll every morning I'll watch myself wake up hopeful, because after sleeping and being quiet, my back is in the least painful position, and I'll wake up and I'll say, I'll see how far I can go without my meds. For those of you on meds, I don't know if you've gone through this scenario, and you do your thing, and then suddenly, the mind is overwhelmed with pain, and it's like, I don't know if I can go on with this, and so that is the other expression, and the other expression is the misunderstanding that our peace and our happiness rests on a particular condition. That's the misunderstanding. That an open heart depends on certain conditions. And what the Buddha says is that we actually have the capacity to build an open heart that doesn't rest on any particular condition. And that's radical, isn't it? I mean, that is really radical, because over and over again we get seduced and tied and imprisoned, really, into thinking that our happiness rests on something, that my happiness rests on getting rid of the pain, on being able to walk. I just saw it really clearly the other day, because it's Christmas, and even though I'm Jewish, a lot of us Jews like to celebrate both Hanukkah and Christmas. I happen to love getting presents and giving them, so any occasion to receive and to give, I will use. So I was just thinking of presents, and I can't actually go shopping, but I was giving my sister this list of presents that I wanted her to buy for the family. And so I was just thinking about receiving presents, and because she said, well, why don't we drop it? And I was like, no, I love getting presents. And I was like, actually, it isn't the present that's the issue. It's actually my heart that loves in that process. And it was this sort of really radical turning, that central to our lives, to all of our lives, is the heart and its capacity. And so I was also looking at this Tara that I made in mosaic that's on my altar. I love my Tara. I totally love it. If my house were to burn down, this is the one thing I would save. And I then thought of Ajahn Chah, and how Ajahn Chah said of his favorite cup that he used over and over again, I always think of my cup as broken already. And then I thought to myself, well, do I think of my Tara as broken? And, my favorite teddy bear and my beautiful silk dress I bought in India when I was in India 5 years ago, that was a huge splurge. And, the sorts of favorite things that we have in our lives, do I already think of them as broken? And so I actually want to invite you all to take a moment and put yourself in your room, your living room or your bedroom, and to imagine everything breaking. Just everything. The curtains shriveling up, the beautiful artwork dissolving or being torn, our jewelry being broken or dissolving, everything. And then acknowledging that what is left in our room is our hearts. That is what's left, is our capacity to love, to appreciate, to take joy in what's around us, and to continue to do that even with everything that we've loved torn or broken or dissolved. And that's what the Buddha was speaking to when he was teaching about the unconditional nature of the heart. As we meditate, we find ourselves every now and again dissolving beyond the breath or the body into a space that is unconditioned, into a space of awareness that is unbounded and that is illuminated. And it is the letting go into the space that gives us the incredible confidence to know that no matter how deep the attachment, letting go is always safe. Letting go is always safe because it always takes us to a place that is beyond constriction, and that place that is beyond constriction is based in love and a sense of well-being. And so why I'm even able to be here is because I keep working on challenging my mind not to contract around the pain and the story, and to trust that I can let the stories go of immobility or surgery that is going to go wrong or whatever it is, to trust that no matter what, the process of letting go is the process that takes us into love and peace and well-being. And that's why the Buddha said in the Four Noble Truths, noble, because they are so exquisite in their expression of the truth of our minds, that the cause of all suffering in our life is holding on. And it is holding on in the belief that our hearts are small, that our hearts can only love certain things, and that when those certain things go, our hearts will crack, that our hearts will be incapacitated. And the third noble truth is the Buddha saying that's not true, that our hearts have the capacity to love beyond all the conditions, that beyond what we love in our rooms, beyond our partners and our lovers and our friends, that we have that capacity. And that one of the reasons that we come together as community is to support each other and to remind each other that we have this capacity. And that when you hear these words and somehow it doesn't feel true, then that's just doubt. It's just doubt. It's not wisdom, it's just doubt. And that we can actually challenge our doubt and name it as doubt, and that naming it and disbelieving of it actually brings us closer to that peace. So it does take a leap. It takes a leap for each one of us to disengage from the doubt, which is really this heavy oak door with iron works on it that make it even heavier, that feels like it doesn't dislodge at all, but actually does dislodge. And it dislodges through us challenging that constructed storyline, because it's never wise. Doubt is never wise. Investigation is, but not doubt. Because doubt always belittles our capacity. And this big statue here is really a reflection of our own capacity. It's not just wooden and gold. It is a reflection of our capacity as a human being. And that's what makes us beautiful, is that capacity. And it's our beauty is expressed in different ways. Femme butch, top bottom. The capacity to express that beauty is the same for each one of us. And it demands this realigning of our minds to where really the truth is. And that doesn't mean we don't enjoy the conditions. I do. I look at my Tara every day and love it. I drink my morning black tea in a cup that I splurged with. Someone gave me $50 for my birthday one year, and I bought a cup and a saucer for $50. For me, that's like really a big splurge. I love it. It's beautifully constructed. The glaze is gorgeous. I really love drinking my tea out of it every morning. And I'm invited to understand that that isn't where my love is really located. It isn't in the cup. It's in my capacity to love. And that is enduring as long as I'm alive. I just realized, how long do I speak for? When do we end?
11:45.
We end at 11:30?
No, 11:45.
11:45.
Question and answers, and then we end at 11:50.
Oh, okay. Well, I think actually that I think I'm sort of more into opening it up now and dialoguing more with you about where you're at and how you experience your challenges and yeah. Yes. Could you say your name?
My name's David.
Hi.
And I was going to ask you, from your perspective and the teachings, what does loneliness come from?
I think for me there's a two-leveled response, and the one is more existential, and that is for some reason, and we don't know why, we are all born with a certain amount of delusion. With a certain amount of misunderstanding about who we are and how we are. And when someone asked the Buddha, why are we born not fully enlightened, which is the other way of saying it, he said he looked in through the eons and eons of sentient life and he could not find a time when there wasn't delusion. So, to acknowledge that. And delusion has as its characteristic not seeing the truth. When I think of Thomas Merton and his expression of our possibility, he talks about us being alive to live in the communion of love. That is our ultimate expression. And that the opposite of that is loneliness. It is this mistaken understanding that we are living outside of that communion of love, that we are living in separation or in disconnection somehow. And that misunderstanding is based on delusion. It is actually based on not seeing things as they really are. Just another example that maybe makes that a little clearer. When we experience homophobic remarks, at least there's some part of us that knows it's not true, that we are beautiful as queer. We see that the person who is saying that is in delusion and separation because they are separated from a part of their own humanity that they're projecting onto us. Loneliness is kind of the same thing, where we feel separated and we're projecting onto the rest of the world that separation, when in fact it's not happening. That's the ground of being. And I have to say this because I have found it incredibly helpful. And some of you who've heard me talk have heard me say this over and over again, and it's a mantra, that when the Buddha outlined the nature of consciousness in the Abhidharma, he did this very, very, very detailed account, in the same way that we tease molecules into atoms and we tease the atomic nucleus out into protons and neutrons, and now there's like a million other things, and now it isn't even a thing, it's a probability. So in that same way, the Buddha did that with consciousness. And this is what he found, and it's incredible. He said that whenever there is a mind state of anger or greed or confusion or envy or conceit or a lack of ethical behavior or a lack of remorse or loneliness or fear or judgment, it is always based on a misperception of reality. It is always based on wrong view and delusion. So you're never seeing things correctly. Just as when we fall into racism, as for those of us who are white, we never see the reality correctly. It's deluded. When we feel lonely, it's deluded. It's deluded. Not that we're not feeling it, but that to acknowledge it is on a misperception, based on a misperception of reality. Then that kind of basic structure is compounded by the places that we haven't been met in this culture, by our families, by our churches, by our schools, by movies, by the people that we're living with. And so it gets solidified. So the antidote to that is both levels. To use your meditation practice of cultivating mindfulness, to have your mindfulness be so strong that when we're lonely, we catch it and we refrain from identifying with it and building more of a story of I'm so lonely. So we catch it and we let go of building it because we're present and we can see it. We make a supreme effort to let go of the storyline, because the storyline is based on a misperception. It isn't real, in the same way, again, as racism or homophobia isn't real. It's not real. Then the last invitation is to actually befriend the loneliness. Loneliness. Of course you're here. I'm not fully awakened. Of course you're going to feel estranged and lonely. It makes so much sense. I want you to know that I'm here for you. I give you my heart. I open my heart to you. And I kind of call on that capacity of allowing loneliness to live inside of me without trying to alter it, without trying to change it, but rather to meet it with love. And as we do that, and as we do it over and over again, the mind actually begins to drop into that communion of love. That the loneliness and that all these other feelings are actually a cover to that communion of love. And that's why we call this a purification practice, because each of these times something like this arises, we understand not that it's a problem, but that it's the invitation to meet it and to hold it so that it might dissolve, and so that we come closer to the communion of love. And that all the great teachers say, without doubt, and they cross traditions, that there is a communion of love, and that we do reside in it, except that it's covered by the doubts, by the loneliness that we believe, by the places of self-judgment that we believe, by the greed, hatred, envy, and clinging that we believe. And as those are purified through this practice, we find ourselves more and more in love. And that I can guarantee from personal experience. Yeah.
Just in the past few decades, in all of human history, science has made advances about chemistry in the brain and how that affects moods, and how it can give wildly distorted senses of unreality, and how there are antidepressants that can help with that. And I wonder, what is the Buddhist perspective of that? I mean, it's not like that replaces Buddhism,
Right.
like that can take you, that can address issues that meditation and other forms of practice can't. So when we're talking about distortions of reality, and we're talking about very painful emotions, where do you see the role is of modern science as far as addressing that, as far as just the chemistry of the brain versus Buddhist practice?
I haven't ever taken them myself, so I can't say for sure. I can't say. My own personal experience, I can say that I have worked with a lot of students who are on antidepressants, and I found that it's really supported them in their practice. So I can say for the people I've worked with who are on antidepressants, I totally support them to take it. I can talk about being on opiates right now. I'm on opiates, and I because there's a place where I just stop being able to take the pain, and I mean that my mind can't take it anymore, and so this is probably a different discussion. I feel like it's a trade-off, because what I've noticed with opiates is that it sort of clouds the mind in a way, and that it's much more difficult to find the spaciousness and clarity of mindfulness when I'm on an opiate. And it takes incredible perseverance and patience. I feel like I've got this tiny needle, and I'm just so intricately teasing and teasing and teasing the mind to come to some connection, so that I feel like today that I'm speaking from some connection, and that takes an incredible amount of practice. So that's just two different responses, and I even with that. The distortion in the mind that comes from the opiates, which I feel, I'm still taking them. So it's just acknowledging, at least on that level, that there is some kind of distortion that happens. So
My
I
point
don't
is
know.
that what I'm talking about is just the opposite, that the distortion in some ways addressed by the antidepressants
Yeah.
rather than like just masking.
That's great. I think that's beautiful. I deeply bow to science in supporting the stability of the mind through those things. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. Because I know people who have come to me and shared it sometimes speak about it with shame, and I don't think there's ever a good reason for shame, ever. So about anything, yeah.
I'm also on the topic of pain. I understand that Buddha also had back problems.
Yeah.
And I've been told, I don't know the source of this, that he used his own practice, used concentration practice more than Vipassana. And I'm wondering what your experience is now, concentration versus Vipassana. Pain.
Right. No, I think a certain amount, I think that that's absolutely true, that when you have that kind of space in your life to go into jhana, that it's a wonderful antidote. You have to have a lot of space, So I think, people brought him food, and he was really being taken care of, and he was in a really quiet environment, which is what you need for jhana. So yeah, jhana is wonderful when you have the conditions for it.
Arinna, will you let us know if you're not feeling well enough to finish this?
Oh, no. You see me wriggling around, it's okay. Yeah. Could you say your name?
My name is Jim. And
Jim.
I know you're making positive use of your experience of pain, but I wish you shouldn't have it.
Thank you.
You're very kind. This comment of imagining everything, everything gone, reminded me of some, on the retreat once I read something by Stephen Levine, where he said, imagine that everyone you love is already dead, and this is all extra. This is all bonus, which is, I find, extraordinarily refreshing as a framing device.
Right. And and I just want to acknowledge. How humbling it is as someone who has practiced for a long time, and how difficult it is to actually let go. So, for example, I was talking about this driving over. Someone actually, I meant a different jam. Someone went shopping for me, and because there's a wonderful community of people who are shopping for me and cooking for me. And she bought this very heavy jar of jam. And I'm not supposed to lift anything up. And so for several days now, and it's amazing to me. People bring me lunch and dinner, but not breakfast. So I make my own breakfast, which is toast. I open the refrigerator door, and there's the jam. I know I should not pick it up. And I do. And I put it on my toast. I know I should not pick it up again and put it in the fridge, and I should wait for someone to come and do it for me. And I don't wait, and I put it in. When I just talking to you now, it's so interesting because I get the incredible vulnerability of what happens when we surrender, and how much wanting that control is actually a defense of that vulnerability, and it isn't just the vulnerability of not being able to do something for myself, but it's the vulnerability of depending on other people. And for some reason, I mean, I think it's kind of built. There's that delusion we're talking about. It's built in. It's part of the loneliness that we think we should do it. We think we should do it by ourselves, and that if we don't, we're weak. And it's so ingrained inside of us. And actually, that's what keeps us lonely. I know it. I can see it. And the force and the compulsion to do it by myself is so strong. It almost feels as though I'm out of control. And it is so heartbreaking to acknowledge how strong that compulsion is of doing it by myself and not surrendering into receiving help, in the ways that if we asked, I know each one of us would receive. I just know that, because that's the communion of love, And so it's this love challenges that core identity we have, and particularly in America, worse than any other country in the world, that we have to do it by ourselves and we have to do it alone, And so there you go. Yes, yeah. Thank you. Who was it that asked? Thank you, James. Thank you. Yeah.
My name is David too. I have a car, which I have here in the city, and I'm noticing that I've become, because of a wide variety of circumstances, for a long period of time I didn't use my car. There were reasons why I couldn't use the car. So I started taking public transportation in the city, particularly the 14 and the 49 in the Mission. And at first it was such a jarring, jolting experience to rub up against so many people in such a kind of ungentle way. And now I begin to see that I almost prefer not to use my car because there's so much life going on around me, and I'm sort of caught up in the flow of it. And it doesn't really make that much difference whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. It's a stream, and I'm part of it, and it's kind of bizarre. And I don't quite know who I am in this transformation part, as I watch humanity kind of not just flow around me, but reach out to me, pull back, accept, reject, embrace when I want to be embraced, when I don't want to be embraced. All of those pieces are also there, and it's so out of my control. And I have this thing about talking to whoever is around me, which of course is completely out of my control. But there is a kind of loneliness in being in that vehicle where you're driving off by yourself, and the other people who are driving are not with you. They're almost like competitors in a way.
Right.
So it's weird. So when you talked about loneliness in this society, that's one of the little examples for me of how it can be a little self-induced. Having a car is a privilege, but it's also a kind of isolating.
Exactly. Thank you. I mean, I think, we'll come to the end. I think that's really profound because I don't, the way America was built, I don't know if any of you have read this by Eli Zaretsky, he did a whole study on it, that the choice America made after the war was to build suburbs and to support the kind of consumerism that has really strengthened that sense of separation. So everyone has their own washing machine and lawnmower and their own car and their own house. And there were, for example, Germany did it a whole different way, where they built public transportation and they built community centres, and in England there were bathing centres. When I grew up, I still went to swimming pool bath complexes where you just shared a lot more of the resources, And so there was this sense of community built into the structure of your life that we don't have here. But we don't even realize it until we travel to other countries or until we travel to different parts of this country. So thank you, because I think it is deeply structural, and that when, I just was in Brazil, and because there was so much poverty in this town I was in, everyone lived on the streets because their homes were just one room. And so everyone was out all the time. And you interacted in totally different ways because of that. So you had a whole different sense of being in community. Anyway, so, well, thank you so much. Thank you. Let's just take a moment of silence. Huh? May our words and our practice, our listening and our sharing contribute to our well-being and the well-being of all beings. Thank you.
We have a host this morning.
Yeah, hi, I'm Bill. I'm the host today, and we've got cake and fruit and hot water and tea bags, so please help yourself. If you do use a cup, please wash it out before you leave. I'll be coming around with a Donna bowl. The suggested donation is $5 to $8, and just remember that it's our contributions that keep this Sangha going, so anything and everything is appreciated. If you're new, for those of you who are new, we have a printed directory listing all of our members, and there's also a newsletter that comes out. If you are interested in getting the newsletter or being in the directory, there's a sign-up sheet on Credence out there where you can put your information to get that. And lastly, a group usually gathers at around 12:30 to go out to lunch. It's an informal thing. If you'd like to join in, just be at the door, front door at 12:30.
Could I add something?
Of course.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about Dana because I know that you have teachers coming from different traditions. And in my tradition, in the Theravadan tradition, I have been deeply inspired by all the teachers who've gone before me who haven't charged for their teachings, so that we study and we meditate and we go and learn with other teachers, and in return continue to share the teachings and never charge for it. So I come to places like this and many other places and lead retreats and never ever charge for the teachings, because when I look at why I am alive today and not dead from suicide, it's because of the teachings. They have radically altered my life, and I actually can't think of anything more precious and more beautiful than having a practice that saves lives and transforms lives. In return for being part of this lineage and sharing the teachings, those who are moved by the teachings support the teachers. And so that's how I'm supported. I'm supported through your donations. If you want to continue to support me so that I might teach again and even come here. And so I want to be really honest with you, because the last time I came, and I had spent some time preparing the Dharma talk, I didn't receive very much dana. And I know it wasn't because there wasn't something beautiful happening here, because I felt it. And I felt sad because I want to be able to continue to come here, and it does depend on a certain amount of support that sustains me to continue to do this. So I know some of you don't know that, and I wanted to take this opportunity to share it with you so that you have a choice, in the expression of your generosity. So thank you.
Perhaps it would help then if we were, like the general contribution to the center, separate from another goal or path.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Dispersion.
Yes, right.
I don't know if that's...
It has been our practice, and I think under the guidance of the programming community, to offer a gratuity to each and every one of our speakers from the entire Sangha to the speaker. The facilitator will provide you with a gratuity, which we understand has been agreed to in advance.
So I would just like to offer this as an alternative, and of course whatever you all decide is fine. In terms of this being a Buddhist group and honouring the Theravadan tradition of respecting the lineage of Dharma, which is giving from our hearts to the teacher, if we feel moved to do that, to help sustain the teachers who then can sustain the teachings so that the teachings continue. And that's it's freely given, so that's an option to consider, that for those who are here as Theravadan teachings and who live on dana, to honor that by giving dana and having 2 baskets. And and if you do feel that isn't how you like to work, of course, I just wanted to offer that.
In response and somewhat in defense, it has been our tradition to offer a fixed honorarium.
Yeah.
And we have many different traditions here.
Yeah.
So I just want to counterbalance the
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Are there any other announcements?
Today we're going to have a mail-in party for our annual fundraising letter, which goes out, and there are 390 labels, and a team of swift-moving fingers can deal with this task very quickly and in a fraternal manner. So I hope a number of you can sit down with us at the table and get this mailing out. Thank you very much.
Should I ask about Yes.
Because of Arinna's back problem, she's not able to drive, and so she needs a ride back to the East Bay. She lives in Oakland. If anybody is going in that direction, pretty horrible.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Great.
So, Arinna, would you like to close the meeting?
Yes. So as we come to closure, acknowledging our beautiful qualities, acknowledging the wisdom that lies in our hearts that brought us here today, the love, acknowledging our perseverance, our patience in our sitting, acknowledging our generosity and our giving, honoring these beautiful qualities and offering the blessing that they might continue to grow and bless our lives. Bless those around us and bless the whole world. Thank you.
Feel better soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Gay Buddhist Forum. If you would like to hear several new talks per month and be notified of upcoming speakers so you can participate live, please subscribe to this podcast, like us on Facebook, and join our mailing list by visiting gaybuddhist.org.